David Peterson had one of the best starts of his major league career on Saturday night against the Los Angeles Dodgers, doing it when the Mets needed him the most. And it made me think, is David Peterson one of the 10 best pitchers in Major League Baseball? Well, it might sound crazy, but consider this. If you look at pitchers with 150 innings pitched since the start of 2024, David Peterson's 2.87 ERA is the 9th lowest among those pitchers. He's in a class with Zach Wheeler, Paul Skeens, Tariq Skubal, and so many other guys that are perennial Cy Young contenders. He's been lights out this year. He's been lights out since the start of last year. It's not crazy when I say David Peterson is a top 10 Major League starter. Welcome to Meet at the Apple, presented by PC Richard & Son. I'm Jonathan Barron, and today I'm joined by a guest host. You guys know him well. I'm not going to call you the Kidcaster. I find it disrespectful.
Thanks, John.
You're above that.
Thank you.
We got Hunter here. Vito's home this weekend, so glad to be with you, Hunter.
Me as well. I'm happy to be here. Thanks, John.
And I think that we're all happy. I think we could all take a deep breath after the Mets suffered the first 3-game losing streak of the season. Sky was falling there for a little bit. You know, our pigs were flying, and the water supply was poisoned, and everything was terrible. The Mets take 3 of 4. 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, the last one in Boston against the Red Sox, against Garrett Crochet. And suddenly, things are looking optimistic for the Mets. You got the White Sox coming to town. You got the Rockies coming to town after a really successful weekend. All right, full disclosure here. We are doing this with 45 seconds left on the clock. Game 3, Knicks Pacers. We have it on the laptop over here. Knicks up 2. So this is live. We wanted to do this.
It's our ball, ain't it?
That's why I have the glasses on. Usually I don't have the glasses on. But right now I do. I'm trying to see what happens here as the Knicks are trying to mount the comeback. I got my Steve Novak jersey here. And hopefully a really big weekend for the orange and blue teams.
Yeah, hopefully. This weekend at Citi Field was great. The energy was awesome all 3 games. I don't think it was a sellout all 3 games, but it was close to it for the entire series. Great energy in the ballpark, even though Friday night with the bad weather, with the rain delay, with everything, the fans still stuck around till the end. Last night, Saturday, fans were here, fans were fired up, and tonight too, Sunday night baseball, still, almost 40,000 people in the ballpark, great crowd, and a lot of people came out to see Kodai Senga work through some adversity, gave up, his first home run since the Miami start to Ohtani to lead off the game. But you know what? They also saw a Pete Alonso homer. They saw a lot of really good things from the Mets tonight. So, John, tell me what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Friday night. That was one of the, we got a miss, rebound, Nick Ball, foul against Indy. That was one of the craziest nights I have ever had at Citi Field. You talk about, first of all, a rain delay that starts right as the Knicks game 2 is tipping off. So we have that on the big board. All of Citi Field is buzzing. Rain delay takes about 80 minutes, long rain delay. We come back to play. Mets kind of got screwed by that rain delay. I know both teams lose their starting pitcher. I don't think Kershaw was long for that game as much as Griffin Canning was. Canning wasn't his sharpest, but still, he's been lights out for the Mets. The Mets lose their starting pitcher that night. And then, you know what? Say what you want. We all know how the game wound up. The Mets had their issues with runners in scoring position throughout the night, especially in extras. But to get to extra innings, I mean, there were not many fans left in the ballpark by the 9th inning. By the time Dave Roberts went to Tanner Scott, the Dodgers' highly paid relief acquisition this offseason, and the Mets punched back with 3 runs, and it was the bottom of the lineup getting it done. Tyrone Taylor with the huge game-tying hit. Jeff McNeil had the 2-run triple. Jeff McNeil still, I believe, has not struck out in now over 2 weeks. So the bottom of the lineup got it done, sent it to extras, and by making Dave Roberts burn through his bullpen, that hurt the Dodgers on Saturday. And the Mets were in a similar situation, of course. They used a lot of relievers on Friday as well. But the Mets got the outing of the season from David Peterson on Saturday. I heard Carlos Mendoza say it pregame on Sunday when asked about David Peterson. I think he was asked, did you have to talk to David about, hey, we need some length from you today? And Mendy simply said he knew the assignment, and boy, did he ever go out there and throw arguably the best start of his career, 7 2/3 innings pitched. He was absolutely fantastic for the Mets, giving them exactly what they needed, bridging the gap to Edwin Diaz, who pitched for a second straight night and was as dominant as we've seen Edwin look, arguably since 2022. I mean, Edwin was lights out, carving not just Dodger batters, but the heart of the Dodger order.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off that, you guys mentioned it after the Subway Series, the Saturday game. Is this sort of Edwin Diaz's turning point for the season where he struck out Judge and got the save on that Saturday game at Yankee Stadium? I think this was the first time we've seen him since. Or Saturday was the first.
He pitched on Friday.
But
yep.
That was untouchable stuff between striking out Betts to end the 8th and then Freeman, Hernandez, and Smith, I believe, in the 9th. That's no joke right there. And he did it with ease. The fact that the Mets can now have that guy back that they had in 2022, or it seems like, is going to be massive for them, going into the rest of this homestand and even going forward.
It was the first time he had completed more than 3 outs in an outing this season. So Edwin's looking great, but I want to scale back to David Peterson and the job that he did on Saturday. I mentioned the 7 2/3 innings pitched, tied for the longest outing of his career. And if you go back over his last 3 starts now, Hunter, think about the guys that or the teams he has gone head to head with. So in this span, the first one is Paul Skeens, that Monday night against the Pirates. Everyone's excited to see Paul Skeens, and David Peterson went toe-to-toe with Paul Skeens. Now, obviously, he's not doing it the same way Paul Skeens is doing it. Paul Skeens is one of the most gifted pitchers in Major League Baseball, in the world, but David Peterson has some weapons that he is absolutely incredible at. First of all, it's the slider. The slider is an absolute weapon for David Peterson. On Saturday, he had 8 whiffs on 12 swings against the pitch. This year, left-handed hitters are 2 for 23 against his slider, 12 strikeouts. You saw that weapon used over and over against Ohtani on Saturday. So he does that really well. He obviously induces ground balls incredibly well. 98th percentile ground ball rate in Major League Baseball. We going over. Oh, the Knicks scored. The Knicks are up by 2.
2 with less than 10 seconds.
I really should have interrupted myself as I'm singing the praises of David Peterson, but crazy playoff game we got going on right here. New York history. But back to David Peterson and what he does well. His last start before Saturday, he goes up against Max Fried in the Bronx. And if it weren't for some shoddy defense behind him, he doesn't allow a single run in that start. And I know everyone's focusing on Fried, and yes, Max Fried is off to an incredible start in the Bronx. Happy that he's out of the NL East and he's not doing it for the Braves anymore. But David Peterson was every bit as good as Max Fried last Sunday night. Again, doing it differently. Ground balls, weak contact, eliminating base runners with double plays. Does not allow anybody to steal bases. Not a single base runner has stolen a base against David Peterson this year. He has allowed just 5 stolen bases going back to last year. We know he has the great pickoff move. He controls the running game as well as anyone in Major League Baseball. And then this past Saturday, he goes up against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who we know have a great lineup. And once again, not just cruises, but gives the Mets exactly what they need. David Peterson has been an absolute godsend for this team. And Hunter, it's not just this year. This is a long span now. This is not just a short sample. David Peterson has been that dude going back to the start of 2024 when he came back from the hip surgery, which he's talked a lot about, how important that was for him to clean the hip up. And now he's just a freewheeling, fully healthy athlete.
Yeah, and another thing on Peterson's start on Saturday, the Mets had 9 innings pitched from their bullpen the night before. So besides the fact that, yes, he dealt against the top offense, one of the top 3 offenses in baseball, he did it in a time where his team needed him the most, where his bullpen needed him the most, and he only needed, 4 outs behind him. It was just such a clutch team effort, or team first effort, gutsy effort by Peterson on Saturday night. And you really can't say enough about what that effort was, what that outing was, what it meant to the rest of his teams. I know Mendoza said it in the post game, like, he saved us tonight. Like, he really did, because if his pitch count gets up and Mendy needs to go get him in the 5th or 6th inning, that's it's tired arms, you risk injury. It's
affecting Sunday also.
Yeah, of course,
it's affecting Sunday. And the Mets needed a little bit of length from the bullpen on Sunday. 3 2 scoreless innings, but Reed Garrett not having to pitch on Saturday enabled him to come in on Sunday. Max Kranick threw a couple innings. He came out after the rain delay on Friday. So, you really didn't want to go to Max Kranick on Saturday. Certainly Stanek.
Stanek too. Stanek looked awesome tonight. He looked super fresh. So it was such a nice buffer for the bullpen for Peterson to only need 4 outs behind him on Saturday.
Yeah. And, today earlier, I was thinking about David Peterson and how great he has been and how he's really solidified himself as a viable rotation option. I don't like to talk about aces. I don't like to say this guy is the number one, this guy is the number two. I always say it here on Meet at the Apple. It's important, it's imperative to have 5, preferably 6 guys.
That's a big word, imperative.
Well, that's we have the vocabulary here at Meet at the Apple. This is the vocab chair, by the way.
Okay.
Sorry, Vito. I'm not sorry. But it was imperative for David Peterson it's imperative to have guys go out there every 5-6 days, every turn through the rotation that are not losing you a game by the start of the 3rd inning, let's say, that give you a chance to win time and time again. But when you look at David Peterson and what he has now done for over a full season, going back to the start of last year, he has posted a 2.87 ERA. And that's an impressive number, Hunter. And that makes me wonder, is David Peterson a top 10 pitcher in Major League Baseball? And I have to say he is, because when you look at the ERA and the sample of guys that have thrown at least 150 innings pitched going back to the start of 2024, there are 104 pitchers in Major League Baseball that can say they have thrown that many innings. David Peterson's 2.87 ERA is the 9th lowest in Major League Baseball. That is correct. Out of 104 pitchers, David Peterson ranks 9th in earned run average. And I know it's not all about ERA. I know people like to say, well, look at the peripherals, look at the expected ERA. But David Peterson does a good job limiting hard contact. 84th percentile in barrel rate, easy for me to say. 74th percentile in chase rate. The ground ball rate I mentioned, 98th percentile. Extension, 96th percentile. And he has the wipeout slider that is such a weapon. I don't see how anyone at this point in time in late May, as we approach Memorial Day 2025, can tell me that over the past year and change, David Peterson is not a top 10 pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And before I go into that, Knicks won. Go Knicks. Make it a 2-1 series.
Someone told me to take my incredible tie. We got Ty back, by the way. We got Ty in here. And we got Kyle from Ithaca. Fellas home for the summer from school. Do I got the Steve Novak jersey? The Novocaine in the shot? Knicks legend, Steve Novak. I wore it today, especially for a big Knicks W. And about an hour ago, discount double checking, and about an hour ago, people were telling me I should take it off. And I said, I will not take it off because we have him right where we want him. We did this in Boston. I say we. I'm the biggest bandwagon. I used to be a big Knick guy, but now I'm not a big Knick guy. You distracted me, Hunter.
Sorry, that's on me. But I mean,
David Peterson.
Going back to David Peterson, I don't know if there are 10 guys in Major League Baseball that you'd want in front of him. I mean, to be completely honest, he's doing it every single start. He's giving you length. He's not necessarily striking out the world, but you know what? He's getting 4, 5, 6 strikeouts a night, and his defense backs him up and plays behind him every single night. But it's the weak contact. It's the keeping the batters off balance. It's messing with their timing. It's the no stolen bases, even when there is a runner on, keeping double plays intact. There's just so much that he does well and so much that he does right. He's really come into his own in the last year plus or so since he came back from that hip surgery, like you said. And it's really impressive to see. It's really fun to watch. And Saturday, I think, as you mentioned, was probably his best career start, top 3 career start. Maybe that and the one when against Boston late in early September last year, but
on his birthday.
But yeah, just really impressive stuff to see from Peterson so far this year. And everything seems like he should be able to keep this going.
100%. And after the game, he had a badass comment where he was asked about his ability to really keep Shohei Ohtani at bay, and he said Shohei is just a guy. And he didn't mean it disrespectfully. We all know that Shohei is not just a guy. Shohei is something that we've never seen before. Or, people that are alive haven't seen anything like this. You got to go back to, I guess, Babe Ruth.
But it's the fact that he's treating it just like everyone else. It's the fact that he's not changing his mentality against, the game's very best, if not one of the very best. And it just shows you that mentality. It's, that nothing's sort of going to make him waver in those pressure moments.
Right. And he held Ohtani to 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts on Saturday. And the Mets did a great job this weekend with Ohtani, the 2024 National League MVP, and last weekend with the 2024 American League MVP and Aaron Judge. And I did put this out there, perhaps prematurely.
Yeah.
on Twitter on Sunday afternoon, and one person said, "Why did you not wait?" And I said, "Because when you wait, you don't get to do things, so we're not going to wait. Smoke it while you got it." And I was a bit early to the party with what the Mets had done against Judge and Ohtani, and obviously Ohtani steps in the batter's box and first batter of the game hits a leadoff home run. I was actually in the restroom,
monster shot,
and I heard the cheers, and I didn't hear music. And I was like, it's never good when you hear cheers that aren't accompanied by music. Probably means something bad happened. And I shortly thereafter found out that Ohtani had hit a leadoff home run.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of flack on Twitter and text messages and a lot of other people
But hear me
pretending like I had something to do with
But
it.
it's okay because after that, the Dodgers didn't score a
They
run.
did not score a run.
So
solo home runs are okay.
It's fine, especially when they lead off the game and you don't give up anything after that.
Got plenty of time to come back. And in total, between last weekend in the Bronx and this weekend here in Queens against the Yankees and the Dodgers, Mets pitchers held Ohtani and Judge to a combined 5 for 25, 10 strikeouts, whiff rate of 44%, and an OPS of 670. I'd say for the 2024 AL MVP, who is off to, I don't even know what kind of a start he's off to.
It's more ridiculous than video game. Like video game numbers don't even do it justice.
But it's video game type stuff. And Shohei Ohtani, who was blistering hot, the Mets, for the most part, keep him at bay, of course, other than the solo home run that we mentioned. An incredible job by Mets pitchers who continue to get the job done, especially on Sunday night. But really quickly, want to talk about Juan Soto and his night on Saturday, because Juan Soto had the two longest hit balls in that game on Saturday. The first inning, he hit one to the track against Tony Gonsolin that would have been gone at Dodger Stadium. And then, of course, with the score tied at 2, he hit one that really reminded me of Curtis Granderson's bases clearing double in Game 3 of the NLDS.
Yeah.
Very similar spot off the wall, very similar spot when it comes to where in right center field it hit and the height of the wall that the ball hit. And Soto drives in a pair with the bases loaded, a huge spot. Mets fans were waiting for that big moment. It didn't get out. And I think while the ball was airborne, people were hoping that it would get out and thinking it would get out, especially with his reaction after the ball left his bat. Didn't quite get out, but still a huge moment. Put the Mets up for good. And for Soto to finally come through, especially in that spot, like you mentioned, sold out crowd at Citi Field. Mets, Dodgers. Look, the Dodgers beat the Mets in 6 games last year in the NLCS. And the Mets brass asked themselves, hey, how can we put ourselves over the top here and beat them when we get our crack at them, hopefully next year or down the road? And I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out that adding a Juan Soto to your lineup is a pretty good solution to make yourself better. But a huge moment for Soto. He comes through, and boy, that ball also would have been gone at Dodger Stadium, by the way. Between the ball he hit to the little triangle in left center field at Fenway Park on Wednesday night, and then the 2 balls that he hit on Saturday, he continues to barrel up baseballs. I know Mendy said it also. It was not a warm night on Saturday. No. It warmed
all
up
weekend.
All weekend. I mean, Friday's weather was just, we were due for that, by the way. We haven't had a rain delay.
Yep.
Last year, we got pretty lucky with rain. We were kind of due for that, although the weather people, they didn't have me prepared for that. I checked all the apps because you can't check one app. You got to shop around for your weather information.
Sure.
Everyone knows that. And I looked and I saw maybe a little scattered spritz at 3 p.m. on Friday afternoon. Nothing beyond that. And boy, oh boy, do we have more than a little spritz.
Yeah. It poured. But going...
I don't know the Yiddish word for poured. Sorry, Mom.
But 2 things on Soto. Number 1, it's really good to see him drive the ball to the center of the field. Up the middle, in the gaps.
That's his power alley.
It stinks that he hit it to probably the deepest parts of the ballpark the last week or so that resulted in not homers. The sac fly, the 2 doubles, or the double, excuse me. But it just shows you he's right there. He's right there. It seems like every at bat he's, just missing. And I don't think we're very far away from him fully clicking and fully unleashing. And we haven't seen that this year. And he's a guy that has the ability to change games and change teams' momentum with one swing of the bat. And I think we're just right about there. And one other thing tonight, which I don't think we talked about, and Pete Alonso spoke about this, Francisco Lindor spoke about this when he was mic'd up to ESPN. Juan Soto busted it out of the box with 2 outs in the first inning. Max Muncy sort of fumbled it, skipped the throw into Freddie Freeman. Juan Soto's not safe at first base because he's running out of the box hard, Pete Alonso doesn't come up in the bottom of the first. Pete Alonso doesn't hit a 2-run homer in the bottom of the first, and we're looking at a totally different ballgame. So I think we need to talk about that and talk about Soto making a game-changing play in the bottom of the first inning, hustling and running out a ground ball.
You mentioned it. I mean, Soto opened the door for Pete Alonso to hit that home run, and that home run is the electric moment of the series presented by PC Richard & Son. The Mets go down 1-0. First batter of the game on Sunday night, and Pete Alonso and the Mets answer right back. Pete with a patented moonshot over the Great Wall of Flushing, and you love it when the opposing pitcher, it was Landon Knack in this instance, hangs his head immediately. The millisecond ball meets barrel, and man, oh man, was that a majestic shot for Pete Alonso, who now has 236 career home runs as a member of the Mets.
That's a lot.
As he continues to approach the Mets' all-time home run record, of course, 252, held by Darryl Strawberry. But he now sits just 6 shy of tying David Wright for second on the Mets' all-time home runs list. And on this night, on Sunday night, Pete Alonso gives the Mets the lead for good, making the Dodgers pay. And that's what you love, is when other teams make mistakes, you make them pay. And we've talked about that a lot here on the show. The Mets have done, for the most part, a great job of not giving away outs, taking away extra outs, and making teams pay for their mistakes. And we saw this. We saw a marked improvement, I'd say, between a couple series ago in the Bronx, where after that series, you listen to the show, so you know what I said.
Sure.
The Mets had things to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
It was not Met baseball. It was not the winning baseball that from June 1st last season all the way to this point, the Mets had played, and they rode that to the NLCS. It was not the kind of baseball that Carlos Mendoza and Antoine Richardson and Mike Sarbaugh and Jeremy Hefner and all the guys on the coaching staff and the 26 guys in that clubhouse preach and go out there to play each and every day. That has been cleaned up. The Mets were the crisper team this weekend against the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
They had the better pitching performances, both starting-wise and in the bullpen. And the Mets came up, although I know on Friday night it didn't feel like it, but over the course of the weekend, with Soto's big double, Brett Baty's big double to blow that game open on Saturday, and Pete Alonso's home run to answer back immediately, get the crowd back in it, and give Kodai Senga some breathing room, right? Kodai Senga is one of those guys. Jacob deGrom has been like this in his career. When you think about deGrom as a starter for the Met, if you want to get to him, you better do it early, because once he gets through that first inning, he's settling in and you're not getting to him. And we saw that again from Kodai, and it was so big for Pete Alonso to answer immediately back. Your star at a home run. Well, guess what? That was a solo shot. We got a guy on base. I'm popping one right now. Lead exchanged, lead change right there. Mets hold on for good. That right there, Hunter, is your PC Richard electric moment of the series.
Yeah, it just, for him to come up in that moment after the inning was extended, I'm sure the Dodgers were a little like, all right, come on, gotta get that back, gotta get to get in the dugout. Just sort of deflating after they take the lead in the first at bat of the game. But you mentioned Brett Baty's double. He had 3 hits last night. I just want to say,
And a home run Friday.
And a home run Friday. I love watching Brett Baty since he came back on May 7th,
Mm-hmm.
I believe he was recalled. He's just played with so much energy, so much passion, as he always does. But now that this is sort of the longest sustained successful stretch of his career, it's just awesome to watch it, sort of really come to fruition. Running to first base, sticking his tongue out, hyping up the dugout in his last night. It's just really cool to see. I know Mets fans on social media scrolling through all the comments and mentions are
wait. So if you guys don't know,
are very happy for him.
I guess, are we revealing this right now? Are we going to do this?
I think it's been revealed. I don't think it's that much of
This is not a secret?
No, it's fine.
So I could say it?
Sure.
Okay. So Hunter is on the social media team. So when you guys are tweeting things that are not nice because your favorite baseball team isn't doing the things you want them to do, this very nice, charming gentleman.
I read every one of them. Stop. Please.
PSA. Like, you guys think it's just like, no one behind. This guy's the Wizard of Oz right here.
Leave it in the group chats. It's fine.
This guy's the wizard.
Fine.
I'm about to break into.
Fine. Don't break into song. Vito's not gonna be happy with you.
Yeah. I was going to start singing Defying Gravity, or maybe The Wizard and I. Fire song. I've been on a wicked kick, dude.
A wicked kick.
No, Boston was last week, so we're not saying wicked anymore.
Sorry.
But I've been on a wicked kick.
All right.
We've been playing some wicked in the.
I've noticed.
Yeah, that's because I've been requesting it. But anyway, yes. Hunter is the guy reading the tweets, and Brett Baty is the guy getting all the hits. And since he's come back, he has been the Mets' best player, bar none. He has been. He now has 6 home runs since he came back up. And you mentioned Juan Soto using the entire field. That has been Brett Baty's bread and butter, especially.
Yes.
The double last night. The double that he recorded against Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller is a flamethrower. He was optioned today to make room. The Dodgers signed Chris Stratton. But Bobby Miller threw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and Brett Baty put a swing on it with a swing speed of 85.4 miles an hour. We've talked about the elite swing speed of Brett Baty, and if there were ever a time for him to go mano-y-mano with some country cheddar. I know that Bobby Miller went to Louisville, so I don't know where he's from, but he played his college ball in the state of Kentucky.
Louisville.
Bluegrass guy. We can call it country cheddar.
Sure.
That's country ched.
Sure.
Well, Brett Baty, a Texas boy.
Also country.
Kind of. Austin guy. The least of the country of the Texas. It's a big state.
Yeah.
But that was big boy baseball right there. And Brett Baty spraying a double into the gap. Away from the outstretched arm of, I think it was Andy Pajes in center field at the time, helping the Mets tack on, making it a little bit more comfortable for Edwin Diaz when he came in. Brett Baty just continues to thrive, but that wasn't my favorite Brett Baty moment of the series.
What was, John?
Top of the 6th inning, Ryan Stanek comes in the game on Sunday night.
This is good.
And
this is a good moment.
Ground balls hit up the middle. And keep in mind, Brett Baty has been playing a lot of third base because Brett Baty has been great defensively. But what makes Brett Baty even more enticing, and I'm sure for the Mets, is that they can now get him in the lineup in different ways. The Mets have a lot of flexibility with Jeff McNeil being able to play multiple positions and play them all well, and Brett Baty now being able to play second base and doing it competently. The Mets are not a team punting on defense. You know, there was a time in Met history. You might be a little young.
No.
But I'm old enough to remember Lucas Duda playing out in left field.
I'm well aware of that.
And Daniel Murphy playing out in left field.
Yep.
And, them thinking, hey, let's just stick Piazza at first base. Like anyone could play first base. As if not every ground ball winds up in the first baseman's glove.
It's not that hard, Scott.
Yeah.
Tell him, Wash.
Yeah. It is that hard. But the Mets not punting on defense, they feel comfortable enough to put Brett Baty at second base. And on Sunday night, he made a perfect flip toss to Francisco Lindor. He used to be throwing tutties to Garrett Wilson in his high school days.
That's right.
And it was just like that. He led Lindor to the bag where Lindor could receive the throw, step on the bag, and make a strong throw with his momentum carrying him towards first base.
Yep.
This is good fun, these kids, to complete the double play, get the Mets out of the inning. Ryan Stanek had a big emotional fist pump there. But Brett Baty starting that double play, fielding a hot shot up the middle, and putting the ball perfectly for Lindor to make the turn and complete the double play. A huge moment, and I think the Mets are going to continue to find ways to get Brett Baty in the lineup. So if Vientos is DHing, Baty can play third. But if the Mets want both of them in the lineup and they want to put someone else in the DH spot like Jared Young on Sunday night, or if there's another bat that comes out of nowhere, John Singleton has been tearing it up looking like 2001 Barry Bonds for AAA Syracuse recently.
Sure.
I'm just saying, think about this, dude. Jose Iglesias, this time last year, we're a couple days away, still had not made his debut.
And I said, listening to the radio broadcast last night during Jared Young's first at-bat, Keith Rad made that connection. It's like, hey, this is a guy who's sort of fought his way. I know he played overseas, Jared Young.
He was in KBO, yep.
I know he's sort of been bouncing around AAA and never really had sustained major league playing time. He said, what if he's that guy this year? He puts together really nice at-bats, as Carlos Mendoza mentioned. He's tearing it up in AAA Syracuse. Just looks like another guy in the order that you could trust to put together a really strong at-bat every single time he's in the lineup.
Yep, and the Mets have done a great job, really, in the David Stearns era of acquiring these guys, these under-the-radar moves. And I bet you in a couple months we're going to be talking about one. Maybe he doesn't have a hit Latin pop song.
He might.
He might not.
Jared Young from Canada might have a hit Latin
pop
song.
BC boy, I saw that.
Yeah.
Probably a Canucks fan. I got to do the digging on that. I got to find out. And it better not be.
No, I think.
Don't tell me he doesn't like hockey. Don't tell me that.
No. I think he's a Penguins fan. I think.
All right, I got to find out.
I think he's a Crosby guy. Because Crosby's from
No, he's
no,
no.
Crosby's from
He's
Nova
from
Scotia.
yeah. He's
I
from
think I spoke to him during
from
spring
Cole
training.
Harbor. From Cole Harbor.
I spoke to him during spring
Him and
training.
Nathan McKinnon. Get it right.
Okay. Going back to that Brett Baty double play, by the way, if I could do that for a second. ESPN mic'd up Lindor in the second inning. Did you see this?
I saw Katia was on the broadcast.
Katia was on the broadcast. She popped in and asked him Francisco Lindor a question while he was talking, and she goes, "What's harder, turning double plays or changing diapers at 4 a.m?" And it was a hilarious clip.
What was his answer?
He said he's been turning double plays for 25 years. There's nothing like changing a diaper at 4 a.m. It was very sweet to see Lindor running off the field, waving to Katia in the stands. So just something about that Brett Baty double play that I wanted to add in.
Yeah, and shout out ESPN. That's a great idea. We know that the family was here. Francisco received his 2024 Silver Slugger Award before the game on the field on Saturday, along with Juan Soto. And then he also reached 10 years of MLB service time, which is a really big deal. He's guaranteed the MLB pension, which is a huge thing for families. And it's just, in general, a nice milestone for a baseball player to achieve. In the NHL, 1,000 games is that
similar
benchmark. Usually guys get a silver stick. So, and teams always congratulate in a really big way guys that reach 10 years. Now, some guys, it's not the Hall of Fame shortstop like Lindor is. Some guys, it's someone who, is a reliever that has a 10-year career. But for Francisco, it's a really, really nice milestone. So congrats on a huge weekend for Francisco Lindor and the Lindor family for all that happened.
Yeah, no, just really nice ceremony pregame. Obviously, you see how much Francisco Lindor cares about his family, to see them at the ballpark, to see him interacting with them. It's always just a really nice, touching moment.
Now, one of Francisco's former teammates was here this weekend playing on the other side of the coin, and that was Michael Conforto, who was back in Queens. Of course, he came back with the Giants the last couple years, and he was in the lineup on Sunday night. And Michael was kind enough to literally like an hour before first pitch, which was kind of crazy. I haven't ever spoken to a guy that close to a game.
Especially when he's playing.
Especially when he's starting. He was hitting eighth and playing the outfield for the Dodgers on Sunday night. But he was kind enough to spend a couple minutes. So a nice little quick conversation, quick catch-up, some good insight from Michael Conforto. Take a listen real quick, and then we'll wrap things up here on Meet at the Apple. All right, we're here with Michael Conforto, literally an hour before first pitch, Sunday Night Baseball. So, Michael, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. And first of all, what's it like to be back here at Citi Field? You're wearing blue, but different shade of blue.
Yeah, a little different shade. It's always great to come back here. I think about this place a lot. Obviously, it's where I came up and spent the bulk of my career. Met my wife here. And bringing my wife back here, now we have a 1.5-year-old son, is really surreal. I took left field the other night, and it felt like I never left. It's just it's such a special place for me. So it's always a joy to come back and see guys like Ethan and all my security guys, and just so many memories here, and just a lot of love for sure.
Your relationship with the Mets fans, like you said, homegrown. You start your pro career in Brooklyn, which is awesome. So many great memories, the World Series. What's that relationship like with the Mets fans who still love you, as you know, to this day?
Yeah, I mean, I think you miss the passion. Mets fans are known for their passion for the game. Whether that's good or bad, they are there and they are passionate. And they show up, and it makes winning here very, very special thing. So my relationship with the fans is nothing but love. I know there were good times and bad times, but every time I come back here, I'm always hearing just shouts from the crowd, and people telling me to come back, and really not a whole lot of negativity. So that's always nice, and you never know what you're going to hear at ballparks. But it's obviously been great, and like I said, it's always fun to come back.
Yeah, I was watching you take BP, and after and before. You're kind of the mayor of this place, it seems like, so that was cool to see. And a lot of your former Mets teammates are still here. Guys like Brandon Nimmo, you had a year with Francisco Lindor, of course, Pete Alonso. You keep in touch with those guys a lot still?
Yeah, I'll talk to Nimmo probably more than anybody else. Every time I see Francisco, he always gives me a big hug. Pete, Jeff, a lot of the coaching staff and training staff over there. So it's always, like I said, I mean, it's always great to come back here. I always feel the love, and me and Nims were together from the beginning. So it's been awesome to see him doing his thing over here. Growing into one of the leaders of this team, and I'm always rooting for him, and really the rest of the guys that I played with. Always want them to do well.
So you started your career East Coast. You went to San Fran, Northern California, different kind of Cali. Now you're SoCal. Compare the East Coast lifestyle to the West Coast lifestyle.
Very different. A little more space over on the West Coast. It's closer to home for me, so it's good to have my family, same time zone. They're able to watch the games and come out a little bit more. It's just it's all the cliches. It's all the cliches. I mean, I don't know if I can pick one thing aside from just the weather and the proximity of everything. But I love both. I definitely miss at times the city, living in the city, and then sometimes I'm happy to have a little space out there in LA. So both have their perks.
Yeah, I was going to ask what you miss most about New York City. Obviously, just the city and the aura, the ambiance. But if there's one thing you miss the most about playing in New York, what would it be?
One thing I miss the most. I mean, there's. I'm going to give you a couple.
All right. That's good podcasting right there.
Yeah, there's the food. There's the energy in the city. There's always something going on. We live, late nights and early mornings. So it's nice to be able to just walk around and grab stuff. And the guys that I came up with, guys like Nimmo, Pete, Jeff, I miss those guys at times, and also, a lot of the guys on the other side, that are working for the team. So, they're all like family to me. We were together for a long time, and those are the things that I miss when I look back, the relationships.
Well, we miss you, and thanks so much for doing this. Good luck tonight. Not too much. We'll be breaking down the performance after the game on our post-game podcast, but thanks a lot, and best of luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
So, yeah, that was really cool. I mean, you talk about Brett Baty and some of the struggles that he had. Michael Conforto and Brett Baty are very similar to me, where they were both taken in the first round. I think around the same pick. I know Conforto was 10. I remember.
Baty was 11.
Yeah.
Off the top of my mind.
Yep. I think, he was 2019. I know that. So a couple years after, but smooth swinging lefty, that power stroke to left center field, and guys who, with Conforto, obviously we saw it come to fruition because he was an all-star in 2017. Some injuries slowed him down, some tough injuries, shoulder injuries, or just, death to a power stroke.
Yep.
But a natural hitter, a great Met. There isn't, and he said this in the conversation, and it's so true. When he said it, I thought to myself, and I was like, you know what? He's right. There is not a Met fan out there who has a bad thing to say about Michael Conforto. There really isn't. I mean, I remember vividly Game 4 of the 2015 World Series for good reasons and bad reasons. But the good memories, it was Halloween, by the way.
It was
proper Halloween.
I know.
I was in some stupid costume. I was forced to go to some stupid party, doing some stupid couples costume. And I was like, I don't want to wear this one with my Met hat, my Met jersey. And I wasn't allowed to. And I wound up being quite emotional that night because it did not go the way I wanted it
Rightfully
to.
so. I was in my David Wright 2013 All-Star jersey.
Did you cry that night? I did. I'm man enough to admit it. I cried the night of Game 4 of the World Series because I knew it was over.
It was very difficult to hold back the tears that night.
It was tough.
But yeah, no, just it was cool to sit in the room, listen to Conforto talk. Obviously, like you said, just a really good, positive Met. Everyone really liked him. It seemed that he said he was hanging out, talking to some people that he used to work with, whether it was the staff.
Oh, dude, he was the mayor down there. I saw Nancy and MJ hug Michael and the security, like you mentioned. Ethan, who we gave a nice shout out to.
So just stand up guy. He's always a really good Met. Always seemed like the fans had really a strong appreciation for what he did. And he got some nice ovations here when they announced him in the lineup tonight, and even when he came up to the plate. I think in his first or second at bat, I definitely noticed it was a more positive reaction than a lot of the opposing teams typically get.
100%. And, I didn't bring this up to him, but he actually made his MLB debut against the Dodgers in 2015 when he came up. And that was around the time that the Mets really started to get cooking. They had acquired Juan Uribe, Kelly Johnson. I think The Dodgers came in right before the Cespedes trade happened. I think the Dodgers came in, then the Padres came in after that.
Right, because the Dodgers came in, excuse me, because Uribe and Kelly Johnson were acquired like 4 or 5 days before the deadline.
Right, yep, that was the same deal with Atlanta.
Yeah.
So we're taking a stroll down memory lane that we probably don't need to take down.
2015 episode.
2015 episode. Well, it's a great year in Met history, but this could be a great year in Met history too. And this Mets team, after winning 3 of the last 4, beating Garrett Crochet and the Red Sox on Wednesday, and then coming back to New York and taking 2 out of 3 in the NLCS rematch against the Dodgers. Now the Mets set themselves up, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because baseball is a funny game, and you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, as my dad always told me. But now the Mets have the Chicago White Sox coming to town for 3 games, and the White Sox did just take 2 of 3 from the Texas Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
They did lose their last game, so they come in on a loss, and it's going to be former Met Adrian Hauser going for the White Sox on Monday.
Didn't know he was on them.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I must have missed
They signed him last week, and then I think 3 hours later, he threw 6 scoreless innings.
Good for him.
Yeah.
The Tyrone Taylor trade.
That is correct. Who, by the way, this morning, my buddy Frank in the gym, shout out Frank, we were talking, hadn't seen Frank in a while. He asked me who the Mets traded for in that trade. I obviously know the Mets got Hauser and Taylor together. Do you know?
Jacob Junis?
No.
Oh,
you're not going to get it.
yeah, the pitcher.
Yeah, what's his name? Maybe you are going to
Coleman.
get it. Yeah. Coleman Crow.
Coleman Crow.
Yeah. Who had the Mets get Coleman Crow?
Eduardo Escobar?
Yes,
Of the
sir.
Angels? Come on.
That's why this man is in the seat right now. That's why he's here. Give me some knucks. But yeah, Adrian Hauser pitching for the White Sox. So a hungry team, and not the worst team in the American League, by the way.
Nope.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah, I don't want to get into Orioles slander. I'm still.
I mean, how?
I don't want to get into Orioles slander.
Mets go there this year.
Yeah, right before the All-Star break.
That's right. So that's a trip I might want to make. Little Acela down.
You want to go?
Maybe it'll come through.
We can go.
Trisha, can I go? But anyway, the Mets have the White Sox for 3.
Yep.
And then the Colorado Rockies come for 3. So this is a long homestand, 9-game homestand. Through 3 games, the Mets have done a good job, and the hardest is behind them. People circled the Yankee, Red Sox, Dodgers span as a tough span.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Mets hit a bump in the road, and that's going to happen. We talked about the defense falling apart a little bit at times against the Yankees, and obviously hitting with runners in scoring position has been challenging for the Mets, but let's not give up on them because these are very talented hitters, and the hits are going to come, and the home run ball just has not been flying in the advantage of the Mets. And guys, I'm telling you, the home runs are going to start flying off Mets bats, especially when the weather warms up and stays warm. The home runs are coming. This is way too powerful of a lineup for it not to. And I think it's a bad sign for the rest of baseball. But the Mets are where they are. I think they're back to 11 games over 500 with Sunday's victory, having had some, uncharacteristic offensive woes, especially in the power department, because once the Mets start hitting homers, there was a 6-game span where there was like 4, 2, 3, 2, 3. It's going to happen again. And when it does, I think this Mets offense hasn't even scratched the surface yet, Hunter.
Totally agree. I think my big thing with this is we haven't seen Lindor, Soto, and Alonso all clicking at the same time.
That's correct.
We've seen Lindor clicking. We've seen Soto. We've seen Alonso, obviously. Lindor and Alonso.
How about Vientos?
And Vientos. But I'm saying as the big 3 per se, you haven't even seen the 3 of them all going at the same time. They legitimately could put up 10 runs a game if those 3 start to get going all at once. Team should be scared of those 3 together. And I think there's a real opportunity with some weaker opponents coming in these next 6, and then obviously going out to LA and then back to Colorado. for 3.
Mm-hmm.
So out of the next 13 games, 9 of them, are against,
Chicago, Colorado.
Yeah. Teams that they should handle, teams that the offense should really has an opportunity to get right, per se.
How many Yankee fans did you reach out to and make fun of after they lost a game to the Rockies?
None, John.
Smart.
None.
Are you being honest?
Positive.
All right, because that's bad karma.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm not a jinx guy. Kyle knows that. Don't blame me for the home run, guys. But yeah, because you don't want to bring that upon us. No. I mean, the Rockies came last year. They gave the Mets a little trouble in that July series also.
Michael Tolley had that 2-homer game.
Yes, he did. I think Phil Maton gave one up.
Yep.
And then something happened on Saturday. And then the Rockies won on Sunday.
Yeah.
Going into the break, they won that game. So, yep.
You're right.
They did.
Lindor hit the late homer on Saturday.
That was Saturday against Victor Vodnik.
I thought that was Sunday.
Good Rocky reliever who's currently on the injured list. So, look, like I said at the top of the episode, we take a deep breath. It was a good weekend altogether for the New York Mets. They
Yes, it
take
was.
2 of 3 from the Los Angeles Dodgers. The New York Knicks get it done. A huge comeback victory.
Bing
Orange
bong.
and blue skies, baby. It's all coming together.
That's right.
Monday, you guys wake up early. We got early baseball, 4:10 on Memorial Day. Love that. We got Clay Holmes on the mound for the Mets. A big series. Be here. We got Bravo night on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's going to be a whole lot of fun.
$5 Tuesdays on Tuesdays.
$5 Tuesday on Tuesday.
Which is a great deal.
Yes, it is. And then on Friday, we got fireworks again.
Mhm.
And we got another 7 o'clock game on Saturday. I wasn't sure. I love a 7 o'clock game.
Saturday?
I love a 7 o'clock game. You know why?
I don't, but why?
Well, 4 o'clock's the worst. You guys agree with
4
this, right?
o'clock's the worst.
Because
4 o'clock's
it's right in the middle of the day. You know, like, yes, tomorrow, I'm not going to be at any barbecue. I'm going to be where I love to be at Citi Field. Maybe I'll suck down a glizzy for Memorial Day
Yeah.
while I'm here.
Why don't
Maybe
you?
I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that to get in the Memorial Day of the summer. Maybe I'll wear white pants tomorrow.
Sure, man.
It's white pant opening day.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
I did. I don't have a white pair of pants.
You don't?
I have baseball pants that I could throw on.
Do you guys have white pants? Or yeah? Yeah. You go to Parker House. Kyle, I know you go to Parker House. What about you, Ty? You have white pants?
I have a pair.
No, not beach pants. White pants. Like white jeans. Invest in some.
John, I say we wrap it up and get out of here.
All right. So I guess that's the cue. But before we go, want to remind everyone to head to your local PC Richard & Son this week, where you can find the best deals, the most knowledgeable, the friendliest staff, whatever it is you need, whether it's appliances, electronics, a mattress, whatever it is, they got it. You check it out. And they've been doing it the longest in the game, Hunter, since 1903. That's PC Richard & Son. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching. I'm going to do the veto now. Please make sure to like, subscribe. The 5-star reviews mean a whole lot. Tell Hunter how well he did. You guys are so mean to him on Twitter.
So mean.
Throw a review in the comments and
don't have
say
to
how
do
good
that.
of a job he did. He did do a good job.
Thanks, John.
I mean that.
Thank you.
This guy knows ball. The Coleman Crow poll. That's good. But thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching. You can follow me at JMB9191 on Twitter, on Instagram. Hunter, what's your handle?
You don't have to follow me. I just post nonsense. It's at Hunter Taubes if you want to, though.
Way to sell it, Hunter.
Thanks.
Way to sell it.
I don't post anything that's good.
Way to sell it. Well, anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Mets take 2 of 3. White Sox on deck. We will be here to wrap it up on Wednesday night. In the meantime, thanks for meeting us at the Apple.